Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on taking a stand against sextortion. I'm going to give everybody just a few minutes to log on, and then we'll start, and I'll give you some information about Relink and share a little bit about our partners that are on today and who will be presenting. All right, we'll go ahead and start. So thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Rachel and I work for relink.org. So what relink.org is it's a database in the state of Ohio that's free to be listed on and it's free to use. And we have over 16,000 resources in many different categories. And when you click on relink.org, you're going to have an option to click on Find Help Now. And when you click on Find Help Now, then you will have this screen that will come up and it'll give you where you can put in a city, a zip code, or you can also search by county. There's different mile radiuses. You can go 25 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles from whatever city or zip code or county that you put in. And once you select that, you'll have several categories of care. So we have addiction recovery, reentry. I have this showing where the human trafficking section that you can click on. We also have basic needs, which is really popular. We have behavioral health. And when you click on that, you're going to get different options, which you can then click through and find the resources that you need for whatever you need or someone else that's in need would be looking for. We always say that you can find 3 clicks in less than 30 seconds. So we tried to make it really user-friendly. We tried to make sure that you could find resources quickly and easily, and those resources have phone numbers listed, websites, information on all the services they offer. So we tried to make it really comprehensive and easy to use. One thing that I want to remind everyone is that not only are we a public site that anyone can use, but we are on all the tablets in the prisons as well. So we want to make sure that everybody has their information correct and updated. When you click on provider login and sign in, we want to make sure that people there who are needing help, people out in the community that are needing help, whenever they click on your page, they're getting up to date and accurate information. So it's almost doubled the number of users that we have per week, having people in both ways using relink.org. And we just want to make sure that your provider information is accurate. And if you need any help, you can always write us at info@relink.org. We're happy to help you, but you can also click on that provider login and sign in and make your own sign in to edit your own provider page. One thing that we're pointing out this year, as it seems like it's been a little bit more prevalent and asked for, is that you can make relink.org, the entire database, into Spanish. So if you click up in the right-hand corner, you can either have it be in English or in Spanish. We have the Do It for James Foundation on with us today, who's going to be sharing. And I just wanted to make sure you had a minute to look at their web address. It's www.letsdifj.org. And you're definitely going to want to go to their webpage. There's some great information on there. There is information about their story, their mission, resources. They're out in the community educating people. You can connect with them that way. And if you would want to donate to their foundation, you can do it through that webpage as well. So I want to make sure that you have that information. Also, our host today, Christi, who actually was the one who knew the contact information for the Do It for James Foundation, that she gave it to me and said this would be an excellent webinar. She works in conjunction with us in helping us get webinars that give good information that will really help people and raise awareness. And her website is www.eyesupappalachia.org. And she also has different pages on there, but her resources page is excellent as well. She has a lot of great resources on there. You can always contact her for information or things that you might need, as she's a wealth of knowledge and can help. For the CEU, there will be one CEU offered for social work for this webinar today. And typically I get those out the week following. So there will be a survey that's going to be attached to the follow-up email I send out. We've tried many times to get it to attach to the webinar at the end, but it just doesn't want to. It's hit or miss. Some people will get it and some don't. So I'm just going to send it out with the follow-up email. And if you fill out that survey, it takes less than 2 minutes. There is a question on there if you do need a social work CEU, and I'll be happy to get that to you. This is our contact information at relink.org. We're always happy to help with anything that you might need. So here's how you can contact us or even follow us on social media. If you'd like to get our newsletters, we do send them out quarterly, and we send information on upcoming webinars and past webinars as well. You can email us at info@relink.org, or if you have any other questions or need any help with the website, we're always happy to answer questions. You can email us through there as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to turn it over to Christi. She's going to be our host today and she's going to share a little bit.
Hey everybody, Christi Bartman with Eyes Up Appalachia. I have an anti-human trafficking initiative. We focus on anti-trafficking initiatives throughout the Appalachian counties of Ohio. And one of the things that we work on are prevention strategies. And we had a big stakeholder meeting, and one of the themes that came away was social media and technology. And so last month, relink.org hosted a social media grooming for human trafficking and safe social media use webinar, and that Rachel can make sure you get a copy of if you're interested. This month, we're speaking with Tim and Tamia. And let me just I'm going to give you a quick introduction because we really want to hear what they have to say, because what they have to say is extremely important with our work. James, their son, was a 17-year-old high school student growing into a young man, a person who ran year-round just because he could. Aside from running, James was also a person that that people loved to be around. He was literally the life of the party. Wherever he went, he made people laugh. No one, no matter what age, color, or economic background, said a negative word about James, and really the man that he was becoming. Unfortunately, this beautiful life was cut short through sextortion. Criminals targeted James. They targeted him for money. They mentally tortured him. They threatened him, and they harassed him all night and into the next day. He was so exhausted from lack of sleep. He tried everything he could to think of how to stop this so his parents wouldn't learn about the embarrassing acts that took place. As his last resort, on November 19th, 2022, James took his life. His parents, Tamia and Tim, began working with Streetsboro, Ohio Police Department, the Streetsboro City School Superintendent, the Streetsboro High School, and many other news outlets to tell James a story and warn the other parents about this invisible evil. On January 13th, 2023, the Woods founded a nonprofit called Do It for James Foundation. This centers around the need for the microphone, for the need to be the microphone and to warn others about this. I want to extend our heartfelt appreciation and support for you both, Tamia and Tim, and thank you for being with us today. And so I'm going to turn it over to you, and we truly, truly appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel and Christi. We really, really appreciate it. One thing that we want you all to know and be aware of is that during this next hour or so, we will be completely vulnerable with you. We will do and say and mention a lot of things, and we want you all to just have an open mind and truly try to understand what James went through and what we're currently going through, so that not only you're able to teach it and warn others about it, but you will truly understand the trials and tribulations that our family has went through over this last year and a half. We like to make sure that your experience with us is more than just the story. So we like to provide you with teaching tools, resources, and really have a conversation about it. So we'll go ahead and get started, but towards the end, we will address all questions, and we just encourage you to ask whatever you like so that you can have the full understanding of sextortion and how to actually help someone if you are that trustworthy adult that we consistently teach kids to speak out and speak to in order to get some help. So with that being said, we'd like to start off with our actual course. We'd like to start off sharing, and we're going to start off with our social media question. So we like to share our social media apps, and we would like to know if you all know all of these social media apps. So we are going to take a couple of minutes, and there's no cheating involved. And in the comment section, if you all can type in how many you actually know.
So I see a couple 18s, a 19, a 17.
Oh, Mary Kate has 19.
Yeah.
Oh, Janet knows all of them. Amazing. Amazing. So now that you all have had a chance to actually look over them, here are our answers. So we have Facebook, WhatsApp, WeChat, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Messenger, LinkedIn, Telegram, Snapchat, Reddit, and Cash App.
Twitter, Roblox, Discord, PlayC, Twitch, Wiz, Google Meets, Threads, Tumblr, Apple Pay, Whisper, and Be Real.
The main reason why we like to go over all of those social media apps is, as Christi had mentioned, we've been officially a nonprofit since January 13th, 2023. And since then, we have actively helped over 100 people, probably closer to 200 actively helped. And out of those social media applications that you saw on that page, a lot of them are a lot of our youth are being directly targeted on those social media apps. The reason why we use Cash App and Apple Pay is because after they actually get to what they want, and we'll go deeper into that conversation and how they get there, they use Cash App and Apple Pay as a form of payment. So we need to be aware of the different social media apps as that our youth like to engage on and socialize on. However, and we know we will never be able to keep up. There's social media apps come out every single day. We just want you all to be aware that as long as they have a direct messaging included on there, that your youth, whether it's your niece, nephew, cousin, neighbor, sister, student, whoever they are to you, are being targeted. And there are over 50,000 predators that access the internet every single day. So a lot of other things we like to do is, by us being parents, we just like to make sure that you all know, and it's kind of hard to do it via webinar, but I know that we share the same desires, especially when raising our children. So I know we all like to be there when it comes to any of their recitals or their basketball games, track meets. I know for one, I was the loudest mom on the track field, praising James on. We also, our two-parent household, we like to keep open communication with James as well. We had each other's phone codes, so it was no close off relationship with us. Anyone could go into either one of our phones and we would actually be able to access it. We always said that we love James, no matter what. We never missed a day without saying we loved him. I always got my hugs. I was not allowed to have any kisses anymore. That went away, but I still got my hugs. And Tim had his high fives. We provided a wonderful social group around James, and James had a huge family. I, for one, have 7 brothers and sisters, and we all have children. And Tim has his family as well. Our number one goal was to try to make sure that James didn't feel like he was the only child. And we kept that to the day he passed. So we just like to take that time to connect with you on that.
Also, I would like to point out from those apps that y'all just saw, there's one called Wiz, and it's pretty much a dating app for teenagers. And it starts at the age of 13 where people are accepted onto that app. But you also have young adults that's on that same app. So it's good to be mindful that your kid could be on that app with people 18 and over trying to date them actively. So that's one thing to always remember. I would like to now tell you a little bit about James, on how he got here and his childhood and whatnot. My wife and I, we got together in 2004 and started our family. James was born July 23rd at 9:38 a.m., 2005. It was the happiest day of my life. And from that moment on, I knew that somebody was more important than me. I had to make sure that he grew up and had a good life. I wanted him to be happy, and I wanted him to also learn a lot of things and be intelligent. And I wanted him to be physically active, to be in good shape. You know, I just wanted the best for him. I wanted him to have a better life than what I had. So my wife and I, we decided we're going to do everything mainly for him. We had to take care of ourselves, of course, so that we could take care of him, which meant that I go to work, 3rd shift, come home first thing in the morning, and Tamia was either going to work or she was going to school, getting a better education. And this was something we did for a number of years. We felt like a 2-parent household with 2 incomes was probably the best choice, instead of one person just staying home while the other person struggled. We felt that getting a better education would help our career opportunities, so that more income could help, because, you know, children they're not cheap. They are very expensive. Plus, we had our own things that we wanted. So 3rd shift was my job, 1st shift was hers. We saw each other for minimal times throughout the day, a lot of times, for a lot of years, but We got to see this kid growing up. He was learning, he was happy, he had all his toys. He was, speaking correctly and properly. He learned a lot of words from all the books that he read. He was very advanced at a young age. He was he was our pride and joy. He put smiles on our faces every day. Him and the dog were best friends. As I felt like all children should have a dog or at least some kind of pet. But I already had a dog. She was a little bit older than James was, and they got along perfectly. James started getting older and he started making friends in school. Those friends turned out to be people that he had lots of fun with. They became some of his best friends, actually. And that was fine with us because everybody needs a social life, right? James, he made a lot of friends in school. He made a lot of friends in the neighborhood. And like Tamia said, she has a lot of brothers and sisters. James had a lot of cousins to play with. He was always around people his own age, and he never even knew really that he was the only child. Other than him and the dogs, it was just him and us here. But with all those other people, he was never alone. Whenever there were parties, they'd invite him to come over. Whenever he was in school, they couldn't wait to see him. When they went to track practice or basketball practice, cross country practice, it didn't matter. He was always having fun with his friends. When he went to all these different meets, he met people from other schools. Everyone loved him. He had a magnetic personality that just pulled people in. And next thing you know, he's making friends that he's hanging out with in different places. He eventually got old enough to where he could go out on his own. He'd drive around and hang out with his friends. They're going to movies together. They're going to haunted houses together. I mean, he had his own life. And it was without us, which was a beautiful thing because us as parents, we just wanted him to be healthy and happy. We wanted him to get an education because it was one of the things that we always told him he had to do. We weren't going to be here forever. So he was going to have to take care of himself. Turns out he had plans to go to college. That was perfectly fine with us. Tamia, she went to college for a number of years. I tried to go to college. It didn't work. But James, we just told him he had to get an education and either get a job or continue getting an education in college or trade school, whatever he wanted to do. He could have went to the military. It was all his choice. He was a person who loved helping people all the time. And that's what he did throughout his whole childhood. He wanted to take that into college and study law. He wanted to continue to help people even as an adult. So all the people that he was friends with, all the people that he came across, he wanted nothing but the best for them. He wanted to go into his adult life and continue that same trend, which was perfectly fine with us. He was just a special person that everyone loved, a special person that everyone liked. He was just a special person, period. I can't tell you all the good things that he did to other people to have them have a better day. He had people with disabilities that were his good friends. And you would never know that something was different about that person because he never brought it up. He treated everyone the same. It didn't matter where he went. Everyone was just another person that he either knew or someone he didn't know yet. And if you were someone he didn't know yet, he'd come up to you. He'd look you in the eye, shake your hand with a firm handshake. Say, "Hi, my name is James. What's your name?" After that, 5 minutes later, you got a new best friend. James knew everyone. It didn't matter who you were, where you were when he met you. He could tell you how he met everyone. And everyone could tell you, "I remember James did this. He was this kind of guy." Everyone has a story to tell about him. And pretty much all of these stories are funny stories because in his lifetime, he just brought nothing but a lot of joy. Everyone loved having him around. Turns out, though, just because there's a lot of people around don't mean they're all good. we have this thing called the internet. This internet that we have is a beautiful invention. It's one of the 5 greatest things that ever came about in mankind. But it connects everyone around the world. And as we all know as adults, everyone around the world aren't good people. James loved TikTok and he loved Instagram. He was on Instagram one night when he was contacted. It was a young woman who contacted him, and it was in the direct messaging. He saw the message, he responded to it. He only responded to it because he thought she was attractive. So they started talking for a small period of time, asking each other the basic questions that people ask the other people when they're dating. You know, how old are you? What school do you go to? Do you have a job? You know, all those small questions. After getting to know each other for a little bit of time, she then says, why don't you go somewhere private? So he did so. Then they got on the video chat with each other through the Instagram app. Through this video, they could visually see who it is that they're talking to. This young woman that he thought was attractive, she asked him, you know, would you like to see me undressed? He said yes. You know, a normal answer for a 17-year-old boy looking at someone that he finds attractive. So after a small period of time, she was fully disrobed. Then she asked him to do the same thing. He thought, why not? So he exposes himself on camera to her. He didn't think anything was wrong with it. But like I said, everyone around the world isn't good people. After he did expose himself, a couple minutes went by that he received a message. It was a picture of himself fully exposed, and it had the caption, "This is you in all of your glory." He's thinking to himself, what's going on here? You know, I didn't send you a picture. But it never clicked in his mind that while he was on the video, that the person was taking screenshots of the video so that they could use it against him. So this person, the one that he thought was so nice and sweet and attractive, turned into a monster. She starts then telling him, this is you in all your glory. I'm going to share you with the world. I'm going to post you all over social media. Then she starts naming all these different apps that she's going to post this picture on. And she proceeds to tell him this for a small period of time. Then she starts to tell him how she's going to ruin his life. She's going to make it to where he's going to get expelled from school. He's going to get labeled a pedophile. He's going to be arrested and thrown in jail. He's not going to be able to go to college. He won't be able to get a job. His friends won't like him anymore. His family won't love him anymore. They started telling him all these different things, none of which was true, but he didn't notice at the time. So on top of them trying to say, we're going to share you with the world and expose you to everyone, and on top of them telling him that they're going to ruin his life, they begin to start telling him, you know what? We could make all this go away if you pay us a sum of money. The money that they wanted was $6,000. Now, him as a child, he doesn't have $6,000 just readily available. And as it turns out, that's not really the number that they wanted. They just started with that number because they knew it was a big number that'll shock him and get his attention. After arguing with them for a small period of time, they said, well, just give us $300 and we'll make all this go away. James said, okay. The problem was he didn't really have $300 either. But what he did have was a little bit over $100 and some gift cards. So he gave them the money that he had and the gift cards that he had. But it wasn't enough. They still wanted the rest of their money. So that's what they proceeded to tell him over and over. We want our money. Get me my money. Do it now, or else these pictures are going to go out to the world, to your friends, to your family. They were mentally torturing him and pushing him for a number of hours. James woke up Friday morning to go to school. This was November 18th. I'm not sure exactly what time he woke up, but it was early that morning. He was up that whole day and was contacted by these people shortly after 7 p.m. that same day. He was up all night arguing with these people. Saturday morning comes, he's still up wide awake arguing with these people. My wife and I didn't know that this was going on, but when I talked to him that Saturday morning, I didn't think anything of it. I was thinking everything was good because that day he had somewhere to be first thing in the morning with his mother. He was going to a college fair. I talked to him at 4 something in the morning before I went to work because I had to be to work at 5 a.m. I gave him a lot of words of encouragement. I told him I was happy. I told him I was proud of him. I made sure he understood that what he was doing was something I never did in my life. And I have nothing but happiness in my heart for him. I expressed to him numerous times before I left for work that day that I was proud of him. I went to work happy. I had nothing but the biggest smile on my face. This was November 19th, Saturday morning. When I got off work that evening, I got off work at 6 p.m. I got in the car, made a few phone calls, and came home. I got to my house and saw a light on in the room from the outside of the house. So when I went into the house, I took care of the dogs that met me at the door, and then I went to where this light was that was on. I opened the door, and I see my son laying on the floor asleep. I didn't think nothing of it because he sleeps everywhere throughout the house. I didn't found him sleep on the stairs, in the hallway, on the kitchen floor. I didn't think nothing of it. But after I walked into the room and I could physically see his whole body, I could see that James Woods was no longer alive. He was no longer breathing. He wasn't here. His body is here, but he's not here. I didn't know why my son was no longer alive. I didn't know what happened for him not to be alive. I didn't know anything. I just had nothing but questions in my mind, and I had nothing but instant anger. It was just nothing going through my mind but anger. I was so upset. My legs locked up on me. I couldn't walk. I had to crawl over to my son's body and cry while laying on him, wondering what happened. What did I miss? I then had to pull out my phone and call his mother to let her know that the only child that we would ever have, her baby, my son, I had to let her know that he is no longer here. And I couldn't tell her why he wasn't here. All I could tell her was that he's gone. I had no answers for any question that she would have had. That day, November 19th, 2022, turned out to be the worst day of my life.
Um, I hate remembering that day. I wish I could play it over because it started out like so good. It started out with Tim talking to James, and I even had a spoke with him for about an hour, and we went to a college fair. We laughed and we danced, and he was really choosing his future. And I made the decision to step away at that moment because he was about to talk to college recruiters and I didn't want to pick the college for him. I never knew that at the same time I made a decision to allow him to have that choice, that they were also messaging him to get away from me now and get their money. They wanted their money now. We taught James how to never send anyone or give anyone his debit card number. And we always said, don't cash app anyone you didn't know. But we didn't know that they were grooming him to take what he had in cash and buy a gift card. And then they video chatted with him again to get that gift card. And it wasn't enough. He begged to give them until Christmas, and it wasn't enough. Our son's last words to them were, you have me in an unavoidable loop that I cannot get out of. My son thought he was trapped. He thought he couldn't do anything. He tried to fight with them. He tried to give them money. He tried to tell them to leave him alone. He tried everything, and they just kept going and going and going. They sent him 200 messages in 19 and a half hours. 200 messages saying all kinds of things. Not only were they telling him that they could never get rid of him, he could never get rid of him. They told him, I am more determined to rot your life than to make it a waste, a trash can, a shame, a dishonor, a hell, a real disaster, a hell on earth. And also, I remind you that I am heartless. I have no pity to rot a life as well as yours. That was 1 out of 200 messages. They told him he was going to go to jail. He was going to be labeled a pedophile. And unfortunately, Tim and I didn't know that all of this was happening. Tim and I did not know what sextortion was. To be able to teach him how to recognize signs and how to, if all else fails, reach out to somebody you trust. I don't care if it was Tim or if it was me, if it was his coach. I just would wish that he would have reached out to somebody. And he never did. And it was because all of these people, they instill suicidal thoughts into our children's head. It's an organized crime. It's something that they have perfected, and they actually sell these scripts to other people for them to do to get money. James' murderers are in the Ivory Coast, and it was at least 4 of them attacking him at one time. We have to sit back and we have to think about all the people who are targeting our children, and we don't know, and we don't have the answers to all. We don't have an end all be all to make sure that our kids are safe behind all of this. Our children are going to be on social media. They're always going to be curious. But the difference between James and the mistake that he made and Tamia and the mistake that she made at 17 is that Tamia had a chance to think through what she did and how to correct it and move forward. James' mistake was made, and it was followed by 200 messages in 19 and a half hours by 4 different people. And within those messages, they told him to kill himself. It's horrible. A lot of people don't really understand the impact that it has on a child, that even their frontal lobe is not fully developed. And sometimes they cannot see further than the mistake that they made. We are here to not only teach you all how to recognize signs, what to do if someone comes to you, but we also need you to be prepared on what to do if this ever happened. And also to know that James didn't die because of just the embarrassment. James didn't die just because someone took a screenshot of something he did inappropriately online. But James died because of that picture, because of the embarrassment, because he thought he had no way out, because they shared his picture to his friends and his nephew, because they told him to kill himself, because he owed them money, because they said that he was going to go to jail. These are all the things that was going through a 17-year-old's mind, and he did not know how to properly navigate out of that. We want to make sure that we go over some misconceptions with you. We want to make sure that you all are aware of some of the resources that our children really do have. So I want to share our misconception spreadsheet. So here are some of the things that when James first passed away, a lot of things were said to us that were out of ignorance, in a sense. They felt like their child wasn't at risk. There was a lot of misblaming. They blamed us. They stated that we didn't provide a safe space for our children, our child. They felt like James couldn't come to us for whatever reason. So we want to use that to teach. So some of the things that was said was, my child is not at risk of online sexual abuse. We want everyone to know that all children are at risk for online sexual abuse with the internet access. It is the best way to start. It is best to start having talks with them now regarding how to spot a scammer as early as possible. Just how we teach our kids to, if anyone touches them inappropriately, say something. We always say stranger danger. Well, we have to take it to the next step. We have to talk about online stranger danger. We have to teach our kids, just like how we go to work and we are taught about phishing, we have to teach our kids how to spot a phisher as well, something scamming. We have to teach them about that. Online sexual abuse mostly affects other countries. Online sexual abuse can affect anyone regardless of the cultural background, economic status, or upbringing. We want to make sure that people are aware that a lot of the targets are in countries that have a higher value when it comes to dollars. We have, Tim and I have done interviews, and there have been targets in Australia, the UK, Canada, and the United States. We need to make sure that we are not an exception to the rule. Tech companies have rules in place to keep kids safe. That is true and untrue at the same time. We have tech companies that will allow you to put parental guidelines within the social media apps on the phone. But those same social media applications and those same tech companies will also approach your child at the age of 13. Google, for instance, will approach your child and tell them that congratulations on turning 13. You now are in control of your own social media applications and phone. By law, you do not have to have any parental consents anymore. And they will even give them an option to click out of to opt out of parental controls. You all need to know that. There are laws that will keep my kids safe online. Although the Social Media Parental Act was passed in July of 2023 to help hold social media accounts online, accountable online, in January of 2024, the state of Ohio was actually sued by what's called NetChoice, who's a representative of many tech companies, including Snapchat, Twitter, Metaverse, TikTok, and Google. And they felt like by us putting this Social Media Parental Act in place was taking away the First Amendment rights of our children. And our federal judge actually agreed with them. So now that act is put on hold. We are fighting here by ourselves a lot of time. We have to make sure that we, once again, have those conversations. Not going to go over everything because this will actually be sent out to you. But another thing that I want you all to understand and realize is that we always told our children that once a picture is put online, it is there forever. And that is not always the case. If a child is under 18 and they have, someone actually has a picture of them that exposes them, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children has what's called Take It Down. You can go on to www.takeitdown.org and they will actually be able to upload that a picture. And they have partnerships with all of the major internet websites that will actually wipe that picture free. We tell you all this because it is a sigh of relief when you actually tell kids this. And it's one way that they will feel more willing to actually speak up and say something to someone. This can actually be done on their own accord. They do not need us to do these things. And we also provide different resources for the kids because James went to no one in regards to this. He did not say anything to anyone. So that's how we treat your children now. We try to give them the resources that they need because if they don't feel comfortable talking to anyone right now, they have the resources to still save their lives. And we will always mention 988. We will always tell a kid, if you ever are struggling with 988, are struggling with the thoughts of suicide, to dial 988, to text 988.
So when we talk to children, we always hand out these gray tip cards to them. And on these cards, it pretty much has different steps for them to follow to help get them out of whatever situation that they might be in. But one of the main things on the card in neon green letters, it says, "You matter." And it's a question that we ask all children when we talk to them. So when we're in the school, we'll ask them just by a show of hands, how many of you know you matter? And as it turns out, it's usually like only 20% of the students will ever raise their hand. And that's kind of troubling. And then after we talk to them more, we start listening to what they say about their lives, their upbringings. And a lot of times they do matter, they just don't know it. You know, they are loved, they just don't know it. So we try to encourage them to understand and talk to their parents more and get a better understanding of the adult side of, raising children. But we also make them scream out, "You matter," at the end of our talks. And we always make sure that they have these cards in their hand also. And we also point out on these cards, there's a number on here, it's 988. We make sure that they understand that number, it is the suicide hotline, but at the same time, we let them know if you're having a really bad day, call this number. They'll talk to you. They'll only get off the phone with you after they're comfortable with where you are mentally. Because just because you might not be thinking suicide, if you're having a bad enough day, it could turn to that without you knowing. So we just encourage them to just talk to people more freely, get some help, talk to your parents, sit down and have a conversation about sextortion and all the different online dangers. But we try to encourage them to do a lot of different things that they haven't been doing. Us as parents, we talk to our kids about alcohol, drugs, and all that other stuff. But this conversation here is something that's fairly new. So most parents haven't had this talk with their children. We encourage the kids to go home, sit their parents down and have a talk with them. And as it turns out, a lot of parents have told us that after speaking with us, their kid did come home and have this conversation. And it's really good to hear that they're listening to us and they're thinking, hey, this is something serious.
And we realize that majority of you all are social workers. And that's why we have different color tip cards. So a lot of times you all are that trustworthy adult that we preach to the kids to go to. So we have yellow tip cards here that are specifically made for you, so that if you were to ever become approached by one of your children in regards to that, or if it's rape, molestation, cyberbullying, you have to make sure that you have this on deck so you know what to do. We want to make sure that our kids are protected. We don't want anyone to feel what we feel. We miss our son so much. We miss his voice. We miss his soul. We miss his smile, his laugh, him waking up at midnight and going through the pantry. Like, we miss those things with all of our heart, and we will try our best to make sure that no one else joins our group. One last thing, we have the red tip cards, which are for our 18 plus crowd. Sometimes we forget about our newly adults, or even adults, period. They are being attacked as well. And I think a lot of times people look down on a lot of our human mistakes, and we don't really give people the opportunity to do better, and correct them and certain things. So we provide just tip cards for everyone. There's a different actual reporting mechanism. You have to go through a different website, and it's directly through the FBI. But we want to make sure that our adults have resources as well for this type of crime. So Christi and Rachel, we want to make sure that we open up, and if some of you guys can, or either one of you can manage the chat. But one last thing, we just want you all to understand that we truly thank you for listening to us. We thank you for taking a step and getting that extra credit and that extra knowledge so that you can help, in turn, help another child, another parent, another principal, another teacher. We are all a big, huge community. And right now, especially because our murderers and predators are in other countries, it makes it even worse for all of us. So please, thank you. We appreciate you from the bottom of our heart. And we're open for questions. Go ahead and ask whatever questions that you all are willing to ask. I'm sorry.
Tim and Tamia, I just want to shout out some of the love you're getting in the chat. You're getting so much love. You're getting so many prayers. But I want to read you one in case you haven't seen it yet. Tracy says, "You two were in a school not too long ago. Made a big impact on my child. She puts 'You Matter' on her notebooks, screensavers. Thank you for making an impact on the communities." So that, I mean, thank you. I mean, I don't know what to say, but thank you. Another question in here. Stacy says, "How can we support your mission financially as well?"
So we have options on our website where you can go into www.lets, and it stands for Do It For James .org. So let's DIFJ.org. And you can donate on there. We also have a walk run event. And I wanted to make sure that we sent out a flyer for or showed you all a flyer, and we will also send that to Rachel and Christi as well. We would love for you all to join us in that our walk run day of fun. It starts off with us walking and running, because James ran. He didn't walk, he ran everywhere. And what that does is each time a person actually registers to run, you do get a swag bag, because all of you are Do It For James warriors. So you get a swag bag, but the remainder of that goes back into our foundation, but a portion of that also goes to scholarships that we give out that day. So last year we were able to give out $12,750 in scholarships. And it's a number of things. One of the things is to get the kids to come out and actually get the resources that they need. There will be vendors out there, Internet Crimes Against Children, the Crisis Center, even therapists that are out there. We want to make sure that we create a welcoming spirit for our children and that they have the resources that they need to speak out if they ever need help. And in turn, they are given a chance at winning scholarships. And the kids really enjoy it. We have food trucks out there. We have stilt walkers, game trucks, temporary tattoos. We have relays, raffle drawings. It is truly a day of fun, and we try to do it around James' birthday every year because we want to celebrate him. So that's why it's on July 20th this year, because July 23rd is during the week. But we would love for you all to come out. We would love for you all to walk with us and register. But we will also love for you all to donate for our cause as well.
Thank you. Couple of questions in here. How can we best support families like yours that have been affected by sextortion? And they also thank you for sharing your story. And then a second one, so the people from the Ivory Coast, did they actually have a video or a live video with an actual teenage girls instead of stock or AI photos? Because we're hearing some of both of those things now.
Mm-hmm.
So for the second question, he was actually online with an actual person. So like how we're sitting here and we can visually see each other, that's who James was talking to. He was talking to a young woman, a little older than he was, and he could visually see it was a live person that he was talking to.
But that doesn't negate the fact that there are AI capabilities within it. So some of the kids that we've actually helped out of sextortion, they have had AI generated pictures, where like even on Twitch, the young man had sent a picture of his face, and they had applied his face to another person's body and put a 3-year-old in there and put a 14-year-old rapes 3-year-old, and they tried to sextort him that way. There's other ways that they want to do it. They prefer to have your pictures personally, and that is for a multitude of reasons. With boys, and when you see sextortion when it comes to young men, it is predominantly for money. With young women, and when they are being sextorted, it is, as you probably have mentioned before, Christi, it can lead to human trafficking. So they get it for human trafficking victims, or they get pictures or videos for their own self-gratification, or to sell it on the dark web. So there's so many ways to do it, that they go about doing these things, and it generates money. Like, this is $1 billion industry, and they like our kids now because they're just very easily impressionable. They're curious. They play on all of those things. So with that, to help families who are like us, who are victims of sextortion victims, whether their child passed by suicide or if they are a survivor of sextortion. We just want to make sure that we stay educated on the matter as much as we can. A lot of times, and especially when we first were going through it, a lot of people didn't intentionally spew out negative thoughts, but it came out that way. Why, questions like, well, why didn't he come to you? He didn't feel like he could have came to you. Those are questions that I think that maybe we should do a little bit more research on the back end, because people are thinking those things, and I fight for my son, as you can see now, and so is Tim. So he knew he would do anything for him, but a lot of people don't understand that you are the kid is a sexually assaulted victim now, and so that mindset is now under a victim mindset. And we all know, if you look at the statistics, less than 30% of victims actually speak up, and that is a female statistics. That's not even with a young man. And when you come to minorities, or you have so many different things that may come into play with that. So I think, educating yourself on the matter, try to be as understanding as you can be. We try to, another thing that we would like for people, and I know this is a big ask, but a lot of times there is a long wait list for for therapy. And so if you hear about a therapist that doesn't have a wait list, write it down, so that if you can give even that amount of resource to them, I think that's a world of help.
Yeah, I would say, excuse me, on top of everything she said, to help out victims and surviving victims or whatnot, just call them and say, hey, ask how they're doing. Ask if they might need a hand with something. Because I remember when we were first going through what we went through, we were falling all over the place. We weren't thinking straight. We needed a lot of help to do basic everyday things just because our minds weren't together. So our friends and our family that stopped by and, just did little things for us, and, just taking out the trash was like something huge.
Yeah. Or telling us me to take a shower.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a lot of little things that you could do to make somebody's day a whole lot better. It's like everything, little thing is just so heavy. And somebody willing to just do something so small, something so trivial, it just makes life so much better for surviving victims.
Thank you. Do you know, we've got a comment here. I've commonly heard that it's pointless to actually pay the person in these cases, and they'll just continue to demand more. Is that what you're founding as well?
We would say don't give them nothing, because with bribery and extortion and all that stuff, it never really ends, does it? People will get what it is that they want, and they're going to always want more. No one's ever really satisfied. So, and that's just the overall nature of humans. We always want more of whatever it is that pleases us. So if you pay them or give them the pictures or the videos they want, all they're going to do is say, all right, a little bit of time went by, and they're going to come back and say, hey, you've grown a little. Give me some more pictures. Or, oh, you went back to work. You made a couple more dollars. Well, we want those now too. It's best to just not interact with them, shut them out completely, block them if you can, just ignore them completely. Of course, there's the chance that they're still going to take whatever it is they have and expose you to the world. But I always recommend for people to just take that initial punch instead of being repeatedly punched, because it's going to hurt either way. They're most likely going to expose you. They're going to let the world know what it is you do behind closed doors. But like I said, get it out the way now versus waiting a long period of time and then having it hurt even worse after you gave everything that you could to them also. It's a no-win situation. Just stop from the start.
Thank you. And we've had so much.
Oh,
can we give them one more question?
No, we do. I was going to say that we have such amazing questions, and there's a few more things in there. So if you have to get off, and you'll still get your CEU for joining us for an hour, but I'm just going to keep letting this go on because there's some really good questions.
Yeah, we really, at least one more here that, and we realize, your situation, it happened so fast.
Yes.
But Nicole asked, what are some signs that your child or teen may be being sextorted? Have you, in your research and talking, what might you share?
So the tactic with it is for it to go so fast that you don't recognize the signs. Okay. So that is the number one tactic. And when we say, and we explain James' story, James' story is 19 and a half hours, but he actually, the people who pass away from being victims of sextortion by suicide, James is one of the longest that lasts. Your average victim lasts 6 to 8 hours. We have two friends that we are very close with. One son lasted 23 minutes. One son lasted an hour and 42 minutes. So it's very hard for you to try to gain those signs. But if I would give you advice on anything, it would be to make sure that you have open communication, and we put James' face on everything so that the kids can really relate to him. We have a documentary on Hulu that you can actually watch with them. I would, although James' death is never on Tim and I, Tim and I used to tell him, never give out your debit card, never give out your Cash App. I would encourage every mom and dad to encourage their kid to use the debit card and put a fraud alert on it. I wish that I would have had that different message, because maybe I would have received a fraud alert. Maybe. What are other things? It's kind of hard because our kids are always on the phone. So maybe, have some downtime with that. We talked to James about like giving your time, giving yourself a chance to rest, and, do you have any signs or symptoms? I mean, like I said, it just happens so fast.
The signs is hard to recognize
They hide
sometimes
things well.
because, kids, they're not dumb. Kids are just as intelligent as we are, and sometimes in certain areas more intelligent. So you could check behind them every now and then, get that open line of communication to where I'm not necessarily a friend with them, but open line of communication to where you're more free of talking about sensitive topics. A lot of kids, they will just keep things to themselves or only talk to their friends. But us as parents, if we could find some kind of way to get our kids to open up to us more, they're more likely to tell us something that we'll look at that they won't and notice the actual danger signs. So like I said, not be a friend, but be more friend-like.
Right. Some of the typical signs of suicide, when you look at that, you look at like unemployment, fear, embarrassment, isolation. They tend to make like no future plans or cannot see a future. And these people are instilling all of that in them, but at a short period of time. So it's kind of hard for you to notice some other red flags where someone else may be, considering suicide or, trying to finalize that process. And with this particular situation, it's just very hard for you to find in that short period of time. But that is why we tell everyone to just talk about it, because it has made a world of a difference. And we will say there are kids out there that have told their parents that they did partake in this, and were a victim of sextortion. They also admitted the only reason why they said anything about it was because they knew James' story. So use it. We just tell you to use it. Use our story as much as you can, because your kids, they will look at it a lot differently.
You could also look at a lot of times boys and girls, certain bruising or cuts on their body, cutting of the hair, drastic mood swings. Those are some of the more obvious signs. But like I said, kids are smart. They know how to hide things. So communication is always going to be number one.
Well, I can't expressed enough how much we appreciate this. I've saved the chat, and hopefully we'll get you a copy of that to see how much appreciation and support and prayers you're getting through from the people that have attended. And I mean, honestly, I hope we can all take this to heart, because this is such an issue, and you really helped us understand it more. We truly appreciate it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you guys for listening to us.
Yes.
I just wanted to give a heartfelt thank you as well. And I did see one person asking how they can get those little tip cards. I know that we talked before the webinar that you'll send them to our office, and we'll be happy to disperse those to anybody who requests them. So you can write us at info@relink.org. Also, there was a question on there, where is your event going to be located at? And is there any more vendor tables available?
Yes, please. We welcome all vendors, and there aren't any charges. We just ask for you to put our QR code, and we'll provide that for you on your table. Please.
Location.
The location is at Streetsboro City Park. And if you do plan on being a vendor, please reach out to us directly on our email so that we can give you the package with your information, as we will send out in the next week or two more detailed information in regards to what to do, who to look for when it comes to vendors. I did see another one on there. They stated that they couldn't, on our website, when they hit support us, it didn't go to the donation page. We'll get that fixed, but at the bottom of the page, if you go to that support us, it does go to the link. Or if you click on the lines where it's the drop down box and click donate, that goes to the link. We'll just fix that one mistake there. It doesn't work. I just
Support us.
let's see.
We're pulling it up right now to see what the problem is.
Show it on like what
Oh,
they can see. Put it in the camera.
Yeah, it's not working.
I know that doesn't work, but if you go, so there's like when you click that, it brings an arrow up, and it goes straight to there. Or hold on, Tim.
Oh, you backed out.
I did. I accidentally.
It looks, Amanda says it's working from her computer, so it
Okay.
might be an issue
And
with
then-
Samsung.
Yeah, and then down here where it says donate. And then sometimes it asks you to open in a new tab. And then it does it that way.
But yep, those two ways it'll work.
I know that you told me before that a lot of the money that comes into your foundation specifically is so that you can pass out those little tip cards, and you can go into the schools and educate, and you can do things like this webinars for us for nonprofits. So I appreciate you taking to a story of just heartbreak and turning it into something where you're impacting so many other lives. And like you said, those hundreds of kids that have reached out to you, or lives that you have saved. I can't say thank you enough for that. So thank you for doing this today for us, and just being a blessing to others. And I hope that if anybody needs their contact information, if you didn't see their website, or you're having any problems with donating, you can always contact us at Relink too, and we will point people your direction. Have a great day.
You. And
Thank you so
much
much,
to
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Y'all have a good day.
Y'all too.